Top 16 tech skills to level up your career. These skills are not in any particular order. They are not aimed at any one specific job title and may be useful to multiple overlapping roles. There are, of course, other important skills not listed here. So most of these are useful to everyone in tech, whether you're a sysadmin, a developer, you're doing DevOps work, or you're an SRE. Any of those types of roles will probably find most of these skills very useful. So skill number one, Python. Python is one of the hottest skills you can pick up. There's a huge demand for people with Python skills. This is true whether it is a primary skill or a side skill. So it won't always get you a job by itself though, but it's a great add-on skill, and it's a really important skill to have regardless. So it is used for data analysis, for AI, for automation, and for a ton of other stuff. Python is one of the top scripting languages used for automation. It can help you automate tasks and save tons of time, eliminating boring, tedious work. So, skill number two, PowerShell. So PowerShell is going to be really, really useful if you're working in a Windows environment. This will save you so much trouble and make your life much, much easier. If you are working with Windows, the more PowerShell you know, the better. So it's technically cross-platform and runs on macOS and Linux as well. It is unique in how it uses objects instead of text. Personally, I would use Bash or Python for Linux or Mac OS, but some people like PowerShell even on those platforms. So, skill number three, Linux administration. So this isn't one specific skill, but more of a large general skill set. I still felt it was appropriate to list it as a single skill. So I still felt like it would make sense to list it here. So the world runs on Linux. How much you want to learn and which areas you want to focus on will depend on you. So if you're a developer, you might just want to learn enough to be competent on the command line when you have to log into a server. So if you want to be a sysadmin or a DevOps engineer, you might want to go a whole lot deeper. Skill number four, Ansible. So Ansible is an incredibly useful tool for automating tasks. It's a declarative tool, so you basically describe the state you want your systems to be in, and Ansible will take the necessary steps to get you there. So Ansible can be used to install software, start and stop services, manage users, create config files from templates, and so much more. So skill number five, Terraform. Terraform is one of the best and most popular tools for automating the creation of infrastructure. It follows the idea of infrastructure as code, or IAC. So you describe the infrastructure you want to exist, and Terraform will take the steps to create, update, or destroy that infrastructure automatically. So generally this involves creating servers like in AWS, creating Docker containers, creating things in Kubernetes, basically creating and deploying any virtualized or containerized server or service, and tons of other resources like storage in the cloud and things like that. Building anything out in the cloud or virtualized environment is going to use Terraform. That's basically the tool to use. A little bit different from Ansible, which is generally more for deploying like config files and applications. Ansible does basically everything, but generally for building infrastructure, you're going to want to go with Terraform. So, skill number six, Docker. So Docker is a pretty standard technology these days, and it's a great place to start working with containers. So most places these days use Docker or some other type of container. If you haven't worked with Docker, you should at least pick up the basics. You should at least be able to do basic operational stuff like starting, stopping containers, pulling down an image, creating a container, basic how to connect to it, look at the logs, that kind of stuff. You need at least the basics for basically any role you're in. You should at least know the basics for when the time comes that you have to work with Docker. Now, if you want to get way into it, the more you know about it, the better. So if you want to be a Docker expert, it's not going to hurt. It's going to do nothing but help you. So, skill number seven, Podman. So Podman is similar to Docker, and in many cases it can be used as a drop-in replacement where you can use the same commands and syntax. It doesn't require root access and doesn't need to run on a server. It doesn't run as a service. You don't have to have a daemon running. So with Podman, you would generally use another tool like Builda to create images. So this tool is pretty popular these days, and it wouldn't hurt to be familiar with it, as well as some other Docker alternatives. This is just one of a few Docker alternatives that is really good to be familiar with and just really good to put in your toolbox. So, skill number 8, Kubernetes. Kubernetes has basically become an industry standard at this point. It isn't always used and isn't always the best choice, but in many situations it provides a ton of value. Kubernetes use is becoming more and more widespread, and you're seeing it all over these days. Not knowing how to work with it can really be a serious restriction. Skill number 9, cloud stuff. Now, what I mean by cloud stuff would be like AWS, Azure, GCP. You should know how to work with at least one cloud provider, if not more than one, just so you have a frame of reference and you can compare and know what types of things change from one cloud to the other. Know the basic concepts and how they work, and have actual experience with at least one provider. So you should probably be familiar with at least one major cloud provider. The top 2 choices for this would probably be AWS and Azure. So there are a ton of other options like GCP and Alibaba Cloud. Of course, you won't learn every single service for a given cloud provider because there are a lot, like hundreds. But for a given cloud provider, you should learn a few of the most common services. For example, for AWS, you might learn about EC2, S3 storage, IAM and policies, basic VP stuff and subnets, and probably their Kubernetes offerings. So learn the basic, most common services they offer, but if you look at it, you see they have a huge list of services to be familiar with, and not everyone's going to know all of those. Now, you should learn to manage some basic things with the web GUI. And you should also learn to do as much as you can with the CLI. And ideally, you'd want to be able to build and manage these cloud resources with Terraform. Now, skill number 10, Git. So understanding how to use Git is incredibly important these days. This is true for sysadmins, DevOps engineers, and software engineers. So code, configuration files, and more are all kept in revision control repositories. Git is one of, if not the most popular revision control repo. So knowing the basics is critical, but the more you know, the easier your life will be. Every now and then, issues pop up that require more advanced knowledge, and it helps to not have to always run to a coworker for help or Google how to do something, like how to cherry pick changes out, how to roll things back in and merge things in different ways. So knowing, the more you know, the easier life is going to be, because you're always going to run into some some side case or whatever where it requires more than your regular day-to-day commands. So the more Git knowledge you have, the better you'll be. Skill number 11, Rust. Now, Rust is an increasingly popular language that is being used in more and more places every day. Rust is focused on performance and reliability. It also includes things like great documentation, a built-in package manager, useful error messages, and more. There's a whole lot more to it than what I'm going to cover here. I think that Rust will only become more and more important as time goes on. It doesn't hurt to learn it now, for sure. Now, also, I say this only half jokingly. If you work in Rust, you can feel superior and look down on other programmers. Skill number 12, Java. So Java has been used to build huge enterprise systems for large corporations. These systems are not going away anytime soon. Many, or most of them, are not going to be replaced with other technologies. Many of these places are heavily invested in Java-based technologies. Because of this, there is generally a large number of Java developer roles available. Java is a great language to know if you want one of these jobs. So knowing Java won't necessarily set you apart, since it's such a common language to know, but there are a lot of positions that need people with Java skills. So there's a lot of Java programmers, but a lot of jobs that require Java programmers. So Java is a terrific language. I think it's a terrific language because of its syntax and because of the way object-oriented programming is handled in Java. I mean, I personally love the language, and it's one of the earlier languages I started out with, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. So next language, or next skill, JavaScript / Node.js. So learning JavaScript, but also, I'm just kind of grouping these together as one skill. You could view them as separate skills if you like. But JavaScript, not to be confused with Java, was originally created to be embedded in web pages so that web developers could make things interactive and dynamic. It has become a very important, actually critical language if you want to work as a web developer or a front-end developer. Now, in recent years, well, actually, it's been quite a few years. It's been a little while, but JavaScript has become much more than a web scripting language. So because of technologies like Node.js, it's become basically a back-end language as well. So it can now be used to write services that would run on a server. This has become a very popular technology and is in relatively high demand these days. Skill number 14, WebSockets. So WebSockets are a very popular technology for opening two-way communication channels. WebSockets can be used to create full duplex connections between web browsers and web servers. So they can be used by other clients as well. So you can have an automated script or some service that connects to another service using WebSockets. You can also have an application running in a browser that will connect to a web server using WebSockets. Two-way communication, asynchronous, so you don't have to request a page and wait for it to come back like you would with regular form posting and stuff like that. So terrific thing something that's really good to know in the modern world, and it is a sought-after skill. So great skill to help you find a job. Skill number 15. Web smart contracts. So smart contracts, anything blockchain related is pretty popular and in demand these days. If predictions are correct, this will grow much, much larger in the near future. Smart contracts are a type of contract that can be created using the blockchain. So this is a new technology which is in high demand, and knowing how to work with these can really set you apart. So this is a whole new industry that is coming up, and it's new, and a lot of people who, it's not something that we've had tons of years for people to build up an experience in, and not everybody is familiar with blockchain technology, specifically smart contracts too. So if you know anything blockchain related or smart contract related, that's really going to set you apart in a brand new growing industry. So skill number 16, AI and machine learning. So this is really more of a larger grouping of skills. There are a ton of sub-skills here, but something to look at. The world of AI and machine learning is growing extremely fast in recent years. The need for people who understand and can work with AI or machine learning technologies is growing every day. Expertise in this field is in demand and will likely continue to grow. Supporting fields like big data and data engineering should also continue to grow in importance. So, it's not just to say AI and machine learning, but anything that supports that, whether data engineering and all that stuff, all really important and will only continue to grow in the future. So, important skill to pick up. So, hopefully you found this video helpful. If not, maybe at least just interesting to listen to. Hopefully you were entertained. And if you want more content like this, definitely hit that subscribe button. It's not just content like this. We do a ton of other stuff too. Do a lot of Linux related stuff, show you how to work with different Linux commands, troubleshoot things, fix things, set up servers and services. We cover hardware, software, coding, networking, electronics, Raspberry Pis, robots, 3D printing, networking, all sorts of great stuff, all sorts of interesting projects and stuff. You're not going to want to miss out on that stuff. So if you want that stuff in your feed, make sure you subscribe, and also hit the little bell icon. Otherwise, you won't get notifications when we do come out with new videos. And If you know something I don't know, leave a comment down below. If you have any comments on any of these skills, you feel like I left something out, or maybe one of these skills didn't deserve to be included, definitely leave a comment down below. And yeah, might want to give me a thumbs up too. And I think that's about it for today. So as always, thanks for watching, and we will see you guys on that next video.